Welcome everyone to the July 22nd Committee of the Whole meeting. I'm your chair tonight, Peter McKenna. I'll start with our land acknowledgement. And on July 22nd, we acknowledge that this sacred land on which Smiths Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We're grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We're also grateful to the Algonquin people for the contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smiths Falls. We're mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. So the meeting's called to order at 5:02, and welcome to our beautiful council chambers in our beautiful downtown with beautiful flowers on a beautiful day. So looking at that agenda, are there any changes or additions to the agenda? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda. Circulated, moved by Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor Miller. All in favor? It's carried. And I just want to remind those viewing that Councillor McGuire is out of town, but he is participating virtually. With that agenda in mind, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interests? Seeing none, I have a recommended motion that the minutes of July 8th, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting be approved as circulated. Moved by Councillor Brennan, seconded by Councillor Miller. Any changes or omissions? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We have no delegations, but I believe we have a couple of directors' reports. Welcome, C.O. Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have two reports this evening, and we'll start with Director Clark.
Quite the stare there, Councillor Robinson. Good evening. So there's a lot going on in community services right now, but I just wanted to give you a quick update. The first is that I am very pleased to announce the long-awaited natural playground is being installed starting today at the CDC. So we were on site. They have all of their, the sod is being stripped back today, and so we anticipate in the coming weeks we will have our playground that has been an ongoing, lingering project. We're very much looking forward to its completion. I'd like to give a quick shout out to our partners at the school and the school board. They were really helpful in making sure that this was a project that was able to go forward. And Tana Torch, my colleague, she was really instrumental in pushing this forward. So I'm really grateful for her support on that and just the collective efforts to make it happen. And also just a quick shout out, Bean and Stock, the vendor, has been fabulous to work with. So it's been I think a much longer relationship than they had anticipated as well. But here we are. And so we will have a new playground for the CDC coming up, which is very exciting.
And the CDC is the Child Development Center.
Yes, and this is the one at the St. Francis School. Yeah.
Thank you.
So there's also momentum on the old water treatment plant, which is good news, I guess. IPE, our insurance company, has selected a contractor and the paperwork has been started. And so we're targeting a fall date to get started. You'll see some momentum down there. At this point, there's nothing else to really report, but I did want to just give it a quick update that momentum is happening and we anticipate something soon. So more to come on that. The ice plant at the community center was turned on this morning. We will start making ice this week. Seems like maybe the drop in temperature is allowed for, it's no longer 40 above, so we're going to start making ice. The arena is scheduled to open August 6th, which then leads me to a reminder that the concourse at the arena is operational at the moment from Monday to Wednesday, 8 to 8. From Thursday to Sunday, 8 to 4. And we know that when it's hot outside, it can be pretty stuffy on the track, but that's because we don't actually have an air conditioner in the rink. People will see a change in temperature, a drop in temperature when the plant is turned on. So they can expect it to be a little bit cooler in the coming days. As many of you have probably seen, the Healing Circle project over on Duck Island is underway. We have a few long lead items that we're waiting on, but we anticipate they'll be here soon, which is exciting as well. And we're working on a plan to have an official opening for the site in September, and the community will be invited to that. And finally, I'm very pleased to announce and remind Council of the barbecue we're hosting this Friday from 11:30 to 1 at Alexander Park. We're hoping that residents of the neighborhood will come and share with us their ideas about what they want for that park space in the future. It's a blank space right now, but it's filled with possibilities. And so we're just hoping that residents come out and they can share with us their ideas.
Just see if there's any questions or. Councillor Miller?
Thank you. Thanks, Director Clark. I sent a note about this.
Yes.
So just I've had a little bit of feedback about the park consultation being in the middle of a work day, and I'm wondering if there's a chance to either shift that time or day, or if there's a different way that residents could reach out with feedback.
So residents can always reach out through email to the department, and actually a number of them already have. We are not able at this time, just staffing wise, our work week is Monday to Friday. So we also are aware that, you know, it can be difficult, but we deliberately held it on a Friday with an extended lunch hour over the lunch hour. So as many people as possible could come. If they're, you know, home in the area, we want them to come by.
I had a question. Good news on the water treatment plant, referring to the demolition, obviously.
Yeah.
And the council had supported some of the salvaging of the stone. Is all of that in that plan, or do you have that level of detail yet?
So we don't have that level of detail, but we are working on it. And the contractor through IPE is amenable to having that discussion. So that's been started in a more earnest way.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any more questions, so thank you very much.
Oh, looks like Chris has a hand up. Or he was maybe waving, I'm not sure.
Councillor McGuire.
Yes, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was wondering why did we remove the playground equipment from the Alexandria Park? Alexander Park.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I recently was provided a report on an infrastructure status report, and there was a number of pretty serious concerns with some of the infrastructure, with all of the infrastructure actually that was there, and I wanted to make sure that there was no risk to the public, and so we decided to remove it immediately. When you're looking at playground equipment, it is very important to have the right size ratios, things like that. Obviously, when this infrastructure was installed, not really sure when it would have been installed, but perhaps in the 70s, maybe earlier. The safety was understood in a different way. So I was concerned that somebody might get hurt. So we decided to take it out immediately, which is giving us an opportunity for new visioning and kind of an exciting blank slate for us to work with.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Clark. Other.
Yes, next up we have Director Dow.
Good evening. I had been here about a month ago reporting on our asset management plan and the timing of the presentation, which at that time was going to be July 22nd, of which we all know that's tonight. And obviously council's seen that it's not on the agenda. Staff and the consultants had an opportunity to improve the information that was in the 2024 asset management plan to make it more viable, make it more fulsome and robust. So we put a pause to be able to complete that information, reach out to the Ministry of Infrastructure, specifically their policy unit, to discuss the timing of that July 1st requirement and what the effect might be on funding applications. Specifically, we're thinking about the Housing Enabling Fund and the effects on that. So I was able to speak to our rep at Ministry of Infrastructure, and their reply is they prefer better quality information than fast timing on it. So therefore, they're going to send over a formal written extension for the timing of the 588-17 OREG, so that we are showing as in compliance with all aspects, including funding applications that are currently outstanding. So we are looking at August 26th, and we believe that that date is good, and we will make that date. Secondly, the 2023 audit. Staff will work with the auditors to define the timing of the 2023 audit. There's a certain amount of work that we need to do and provide that we're finish that audit, work to the auditors before we set up the date. So we've done that. We've complied. We've reached out to KPMG, and unfortunately, they have a delay in their bookings in the fact that they are completely booked. So we're not going to have them until the first week of September, which means we're looking at financial statement presentation not until probably the end of October or even possibly the very beginning of November. I had a discussion with them saying that the goal next year would be for the 24 audit to have it presented to council no later than the end of May in 2025. And they've assured us that they can meet that timeline going forward. The timing doesn't enable us to be able to put together a more fulsome package as far as going forward and making sure that we've found some efficiencies in how we can speed up the timing of the audit for next year. So it's allowing us to put those measures into place for next year. I'd be happy to take any questions that council might have.
Just a comment, I think with the 2023 audit results coming, that time of year will be really fresh as we spring into the 2025 budget discussions.
I would agree, but it's certainly not ideal, and it's certainly not something that staff are happy with or content with. We will be pushing for something earlier, although it does, as you say, so kindly, that it does lend into the budget perspective. We want to make sure that this is the final time that this happens and that we're back on track.
And on the asset management plan report, if it goes in late August, the extension is that what you said, August?
Yes, that's correct.
Does it have to come to council first, or?
Yes.
So we must have a date there near the end of August or something, because our August looks light for meetings. So that's been taken into account.
Okay.
Right? C.O. Morris?
Yes, in fact, we were advocating for August 6th to bring it forward. The consultant is not ready, or I think they're booked that evening. So as council members may know, we're taking 2 weeks off in August. We'll be back on the 26th, and we will present it that evening.
Okay. Okay.
And as far as the timing of submission as the AMP, we don't actually submit it. We just put it on our website, and it's up for review when the funding applications run through. This Ministry of Infrastructure is the funding body for the Housing Enabling Fund. So it's within their own division that we're happy to grant this extension, knowing when we had the discussion about the information that we could update and provide, they were very favorable for us to take that extra time.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions. Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
That's the end of the great. Thank you. We have no consent reports, and we do have a brief in-camera session, so please bear with us. That the motion is that the Council of the Corporation of Smith Falls is provided in Section 239 of the Municipal Act as amended, move into a closed session at 5:13 to discuss a personal matter about an identifiable individual. And that's moved by Councillor Quinn and seconded by Councillor Brennan. Any further discussion? All in favor? So this should be very brief. Thank you. We'll be back.
you want a second 9.2?
What is it? Okay.
Chair McKenna, we're free to proceed with what we just discussed.
Thank you for waiting. We're back from our in-camera report. And the Rise report is we're going to add under priority issues 10.6 committee appointments. So council has agreed to that in the in-camera session. Thank you. Moving right along, we're on priority item 10.1. I think Ms. Crowder is going to walk us through our other AMP, which I'm going to call SAMP, but I don't know what it is.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. So the report before you and corresponding documents are related to a Made in Smith Falls approach to facilitating and supporting our culture, heritage, and tourism sector through public art. A public arts master plan policy in terms of reference for a new advisory committee has been prepared for council's consideration today. The town's cultural plan recommended a number of initiatives related to public art, including Action 5, which was launch a public art advisory committee. This action included a number of sub-actions, including develop and identify a vision for public art creation in Smith Falls, create project plan that identifies timelines and budget for each piece of public art, include ongoing maintenance costs and any budgetary related budgets related to public art. So the Public Art Master Plan sets out 16 action items to further support the creation and maintenance of public art, the first two being the creation of a policy and advisory committee. Staff are recommending council adopt the plan, the policy, and direct staff to start a new advisory committee who will be the community arm to review, recommend, and implement public art projects in coordination with town staff and partners. Staff will also be bringing forward during the 2025 budget deliberations a request to help support that in terms of setting up a reserve or putting budget allocations directly related to public arts moving forward. So I'm happy to answer any questions on the plan, the advisory committee, the policy that council might have.
I have some, but I'm looking to my colleague, Councillor Miller.
It is a lot to digest in one committee meeting. It's a lot of documentation. Do you want to go first?
No, please.
Okay. I have a couple of questions, if you don't mind, Manager Crowder. You talked about your consultations, but the Arts Council has been on pause for a number of months. So have you worked with any community groups in 2024?
Not in 2024, but we had extensive public consultation as part of the initial part of developing the plan. And of course, we worked directly with the Public Arts Advisory, not Public Arts Advisory Committee, but the council during the time when they were together and were having active meetings. So no other public consultation has been in 2024.
May I continue?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So I'm not sure about their plans going forward, but they are set up with a group of artists, so it may be something we could look to build on. My second question was, you referenced the Downtown Revitalization Design Project, which is near and dear to my heart. But at one of our recent meetings, I brought up that design work in regard to a CIP application, and staff said they've chosen not to follow those guidelines, but you've referenced them in this report. So I'm just wondering which parts of that plan we're using, which ones we're not, or if you know.
Sure, yeah, no, absolutely. So that plan was never actually adopted by council. So we wanted to include it as part of the Public Arts Master Plan to reference back to it. It was great work. I think there was lots of public consultation involved with that. So through that process in developing that plan, we really were able to set out some key cultural components we wanted to see in murals specifically, but I think that translates to all public art within the town of Smith Falls. So that's our way of incorporating it into the plan and the policy moving forward, so we can use those as references and guidelines when we're looking at approving or creating public art in town.
Okay. Final one?
Yep.
Thank you. So this is more of a statement, because I have been involved with the committees that have been involved with this work, and I guess I had like some high hopes for an actual action plan, so we knew what we were going to do with our arts community. And so I would actually prefer to defer approving this and just ask for an action plan, so that when we go into the 2025 budget process, we can include it and not defer it by another year because we don't have a concrete plan. So that's just how I'm feeling about it today.
And so through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Miller, that's partly what the advisory committee would do. That would be part of their first actions, is to do a complete list of all the inventory of public art, as well as suggest some projects that we can work on in the short term as well as the long term, so that we can come back to council at budget time to say we want to initialize these. And part of those conversations will be, again, more public consultation. So the advisory committee would go out to the public to say, we have a few ideas, what do you think of this? And get that feedback from the community, so it's supported.
Sorry, just one follow-up
Sure.
to that. So when I was with the Arts Council as the council rep, I know they were working on a list. Did that not get completed
It
then?
didn't, no.
Thank you. Sorry.
So I'll jump in. There's an opening. I'm really happy to see the big master plan, and there's a lot of work still left to do, which is great. I think it will guide us for years to come. And if the public hasn't had a chance to just Google public art in municipalities across Canada, and you'll just see what it can do to a community. It just really brings it to life and adds so much as the plan lays out. And I'm assuming when we get to the terms of reference for the committee, because that'll be really important, who's on there and kind of direction that we'd see that. And I think if I understood Councillor Miller right, you would prefer not to have this, but still have a discussion on public art in our budget for 2025. And I'm an opposite opinion. Without a guide, I wouldn't know what I wanted to or what the community should or should not invest in, or without. So I need this. I would appreciate as a council member having council decide, yes, this is our master plan. There's work to do, and now we have a vehicle to discuss it in at budget time. So without it, I would be I wouldn't have the guidance I would need. So whether it's tonight, that's fine, but I'm hoping we have it this approved before budget discussions going forward. And the final comment was around the only reference I could find to donations, because I've been the recipient in my other life of people wanting to gift art, and it was well-intentioned, but it wasn't very, the caliber of the art wasn't quite there, and they were so proud of it, they wanted it displayed quite publicly, and it was awkward, and we didn't have a policy to guide us in my other life. So I noticed that it was under the only reference I could find to donated was you're going to review the donations policy and see if it can fit. Because just because somebody wants to give it to us or give it to the town doesn't mean we want to. Right. And that'll be a nice way of saying no, or no thanks, or we can do another purpose with it or something.
And through you, Mr. Chair. So one of the action items in the plan is to look at our current donations policy and see how we can update that to help clarify what we will take and what we won't take. And that can be part of the advisory committee's job as well, to review those submissions, bring them to council for recommendation or not. Okay.
Councillor Brennan.
Yeah, thanks for this. And, I think it's great that we've done this work so far. Of course, what, my concern is the budget that you've put together. And I'm wondering why or how you could equate a 1% of our total income, $190,000, which we allocate to community resources throughout the community, and just put it in an arts bundle. Why cannot this come out of either your budget or be siphoned through that 190? I'm just wondering how that 190 would be spent, and how did you come up with that number?
So we looked at best practices in other communities as part of the development, and most municipalities are donating or reserving 1% of their budget to public art. It's not just about the projects themselves, it's the maintenance of the projects for the long term. So if in the future we needed to repaint the mural, or we needed to fix the fountains, or some of the other sculptures in town, we need to have funds allocated in order to be able to do that. So it's a way to put money aside for future maintenance, but also to have money within that calendar year in order to do some of these projects. But you're right, it doesn't have to be a reserve. We could come to council every year as part of the budget process and put this in a line item and request it at that time. But it's more the maintenance, which is the biggest thing, because art isn't cheap, and the maintenance of art is also not inexpensive.
Through the chair, I appreciate that. I'd like to see the list of those communities. And I understand art isn't cheap. No, streets aren't cheap either. So I'm not on the page of allocating 1% of what we bring in to this project. I'm not there. And I support art. I used to sit on the Arts and Culture Council as well. But I don't think that number reflects the fiscal reality that we're facing or the taxpayer. So that's got to come out in my view. Sorry to say.
Okay. I'm going to go to Councillor McGuire, then Mayor Panko.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Thanks a lot for the report tonight, Julia. I've got similar concerns to Councillor Miller and Councillor Brennan. With Councillor Miller's comments on the downtown revitalization facade design work that was done, that had significant negative response from our Municipal Heritage Committee. It didn't reflect architecturally sound ideas. It didn't have quality surface treatments used. There was just a plethora of issues with that ultimately council didn't adopt because it didn't meet the target that we were going for. So to see that pop up in this report again, it's very concerning because we made a decision on that. We put it on a shelf. It was a huge missed opportunity in my opinion. But to try to revive it, there's nothing to get out of that document in my opinion that's going to do anything for our downtown core. When it comes to the 1%, I think it's a good target, but it's got to come from grants. Like we look at the parquet was pretty much fully funded by grants. I think it's good that we have a target that we need to be going for, but we need to be getting money, or it needs to be coming out of the economic development and tourism money, because I don't see us raising taxes by 1% to cover the plan. But it's good to have it. Hopefully we can get this stuff moving, because I think we're behind other communities in using public art to create more vibrant public spaces.
Yes.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor McGuire and to Councillor Miller's with related to the budget and Councillor Brennan. So it definitely could come out of our budget. Our budget would have to be increased. Currently have $93,000 to support tourism and tourism development within the town. The Chamber currently gets $45,000 of that. So almost half the budget is already allocated, and that leaves half of the budget to go to tourism marketing and other things that we're trying to increase and develop more fulsome moving forward. So if council wanted to go through the budget, we'd still have to come back and ask for budget increase to the operating budget in order to support those projects.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Panko.
Yeah, thanks, Manager Crowder. And I think it's a very solid foundational document, and I think we've all been supportive of certainly public art and beautifying our community. We have all kinds of opportunities to do so. I too am, I guess, reluctant regarding commitment of 1% of tax revenue towards public art, and I agree with Councillor McGuire. I mean, I think there's plenty of opportunities for grants, but we also have to have some money there if we're going to leverage grants. I don't think there'd be that many grants where we would get all the funding, but I think if we're going to there's not much point having a policy without having some funding attached to it. I mean, we can't do art, and it's not going to work without a commitment. We know it's well supported by the community. Certainly, according to the feedback, was the vast majority of people very supportive of public art, and we've all been places where we're inspired by what we see in public art. So I think it's a big step forward. My reluctance tonight would primarily be by adopting and essentially committing to the 1% of tax revenue. And maybe if that was removed at this stage and put up for budget discussion, or we can defer the entire thing until maybe next month, we can have a more fulsome discussion on that. But it's maybe a matter of understanding as well. Are there expectations of good sources of revenue grants that could help offset, and where would they come from? And today, I suspect there are, but I don't know where they would come from. But I also recognize we can't do something with nothing.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. So the policy and the report recommends up to 1%. So we're not putting in a council position to approve tonight a 1% allocation to this. So it's really at the discretion of council when they decide to go through that process.
Yeah, CEO Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So to augment Ms. Crowder's comment, I think, if you wanted to move forward with the committee and they operationalize it, then it can be scaled to whatever you are comfortable with. 1% was the best practice. We specifically stated up to 1%, so it could be $1 or it could be 190,000. But I think we could sort out the financial piece if you're in agreement with the principle and moving it forward. And naturally, that's subject to annual council budget approval. But I think what's important is we need to get started, and it could be a scaled down version to begin with. It may not necessarily be a 1% levy. That was just a guideline for the amount of money that we should be looking at embedding in the operating budget somewhere. But I would just encourage you to look at it more from the policy development perspective and the objectives that we're looking at achieving. And then we can scale it to whatever comfort level you have.
I think Councillor Robinson.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I agree. We need a policy, and we've got to start somewhere. But I too have had this problem with the up to 1%. What I had written down here was private funding or sponsorships, along with grants, donations, and volunteer efforts can help support this initiative without burdening taxpayers. And it can also foster community engagement and investment in cultural initiatives. Private sector involvement can also lead to more innovative and effective management and avoid the bureaucratic inefficiencies associated with publicly funded programs. There's too many rules. And they may be able to do things that we would have to get too many approvals for. So that's just what I was thinking. And if we looked at those programs or those various funding opportunities, I think Smiths Falls would have a great opportunity to have a vibrant arts program while still maintaining fiscal responsibility. So it's more of a comment than anything else. But that's it.
Okay. Councillor Quinn.
Thank you. I also have had a hard time even beginning to think about that kind of money for this when we really don't have anything concrete to really look at and say, okay, we can justify spending that kind of money. So I have no problem putting together a starting point, but certainly not at that point. I agree we need to start. I agree we need to be looking at art. I also like the idea of involving the public in this, because then you really do get buy-in and they really do care. And so they're going to help see things grow, and they're also going to help to look after it, just keeping an eye on it, whatever. So personally, scale it down. Let's have a real good look. And I wouldn't be in support of this tonight the way it is. Let's just take it easier. And we've got so many places to put our money that I think we have to be very, very cautious. I do believe it's a good project, but let's scale it down. Let's start slow and then let it build gradually, and definitely involve the private sector in this. Thank you.
Mayor Penko, did you want to have another?
Yeah, I guess the one thing I'm prepared to move ahead with the exception of committing to a dollar amount, and that will come up at budget time. But I don't want to delay the appointment of an advisory committee or the recruitment of an advisory committee. They will really help guide our decision making. And by the time budget rolls around, we're going to be halfway through this term. We want to make sure we have the advisory committee in place probably by early next year, so that we know we have people in place to help guide us on where we should be doing, what we should be doing, and where we should be doing. We want these experts in place. So that's a part that I don't want to delay too long. But I respect that the committee is uncertain tonight, and there's some gaps in what we'd like to see, that perhaps it can be worked on and brought back in our meeting in August to hopefully finalize things.
Councillor Brennan?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Just take out the money. And I think it's a great idea to have an advisory committee. Go ahead and get it going. But as I said before, the 190 is a non-starter for me. And not with, given the budget that we already have for economic development.
So I'm not seeing our hand. So I'm hearing there is a interest. This is a master plan. It's our vision of where we want to go. It's not a detailed action plan. But without this, I think it would be impossible to move ahead with a more detailed and costed, and the committee would have to get its work going. So I'm hearing that there's a lot of interest in a public arts master plan. We're not talking about the money tonight. That's not on the table. But do we have consensus for moving forward and adopting this vision of where we're going to go? Public art is here. Decisions are being made without this guide. That's my concern. And when it comes time to talk about investing in public art, I'm happy to advocate for the benefits and the return on that investment when we get there. But tonight's not the night to talk about the money, but this is the vision. This is where we want to get to. It's a long-term, 5, 10-year, 15-year master plan. It's not the detailed plan, and there'll be more discussion to come. So I'm hearing there's interest in getting a plan and with an advisory committee without talking about money. And I'm seeing nodding. And I don't think it's on our council agenda tonight, so that's fine. That gives us a little breathing space in between times. Anything else you want to add? Because it sounds like we do want to adopt this with those caveats that we talked about.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And, I think staff is always conscious about the financial aspect. We're always looking for grants to help offset any costs of any projects that we're doing. So that will definitely be playing a part as we look at developing projects and costing them out and trying to find that funding opportunity to help offset that.
And I think that was said right in the report too. So thank you. All right, that's great. Marie Holmesley's going to talk about our street naming bylaw. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Street naming bylaw and Bellamy Farm subdivision phase 3. So by way of this report, I'll outline the background and current thinking and street names being proposed for Bellamy Farm. So on June 24th, the Committee of the Whole considered a report that requested the approval of 2 street names in accordance with condition 8 of the draft subdivision approval. After review and consideration of our street naming bylaw, Parkview Homes chose those names off the approved list, and that list includes people with unique historical influence, war veterans, and Smith Falls Citizens of the Year. The developer advised that the names chosen, Mansfield Terrace and Harrison Drive, quote, were carefully selected to complement their existing streets and to create a cohesive and harmonious neighborhood environment, end quote. However, they didn't indicate a unique and specific rationale linking these individuals to the street names proposed. The 2 names were discussed by the Committee of the Whole, and the committee did not indicate an objection to Mansfield Terrace, but indicated that the preference for the second name be substituted with the name of an individual with a well-documented legacy of a past era. Agnes Crane was the first woman in Smith Falls to go to university who is on the list, and upon preliminary discussion with fire services, 911, and surrounding municipalities, it was discovered that there are several Crane drives in the broader region that include first names, those being in Drummond North Elmsley. There's Leslie Crane Drive, Daniel Crane Drive, James Crane Drive, and a couple of new ones coming up, Archie Crane Drive and Gilbert Crane Drive. All of these names will have Perth mailing addresses. It's been suggested that even though the proposed street name of Agnes Crane Drive shares a similar last name, there might be sufficient difference from those already in existence. However, you could consider approving both Agnes Crane Drive and the alternative of Agnes Drive for staff to proceed with vetting of those names. Council also suggested that a revamp of the bylaw is in order. Just by way of background, the current bylaw came into effect in 2014, and it did include some input from the Municipal Heritage Committee. And then in August 2019, the street naming bylaw was amended to include Citizens of the Year. So some options. Staff proposed that the names of Manfield Terrace, Agnes Crane Drive, or Agnes Drive for the subdivision. We would proceed with the formal notification process, getting the names vetted, and then bring them back for final review by council and see if they want to be chosen. This would help the developer to move forward with hydro connections and civic addressing, both of which are tied to this process. For the update to the bylaw, criteria to consider would be pre-approved names on the list be reduced to a maximum of 15 to 20 names. Names reflect well-researched individuals who have clear and obvious legacy and connection to Smiths Falls, may or may not be on the current list. Scope of the bylaw expand to include other geographic names under the town's jurisdiction, including parks and open spaces. Notification process be updated to allow for notice to be given by way of social media, email, or by newsprint, and that notification of family members and next of kin be considered. Protocol for adding new names to the list, including a way for the public to be involved in that process, and again, including criteria for that. And consultation with and inclusion of First Nations, recognition that reflects both people and places that are relevant to Smiths Falls. So staff are seeking three things. Council's direction to proceed with drafting an update to the current street naming bylaws outlined, including research of best practices from neighboring municipalities. Secondly, seek council's direction to proceed with the formal notification process for the proposed names of Agnes Crane Drive and Agnes Drive, noting that you will have an opportunity to choose one of them after they've been vetted. And finally, that as Mansfield Terrace has already been vetted through the formal notification process and no objections were noted, that you formalize Mansfield Terrace. I consulted with a number of people putting this report together, and at this time I'd welcome any questions or comments you have.
Thank you very much. Great report. Councillor Miller.
Thank you. Thanks for your report, and welcome to the town of Smiths Falls.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
So our historian, oh, he has his hand up. I should have let him go first. Councillor McGuire. Agnes Crane was actually Dr. Agnes Crane. And so I support all your recommendations, but I am asking if it's possible that this street be named Dr. Agnes Crane, because I think that's something incredibly impressive to have one of Canada's first female doctors in Smiths Falls.
Okay. Councillor McGuire, you had your hand up.
I can't do it any better than Councillor Miller. That was exactly what I was going to say, just especially knowing the context of the that a lot of people in town didn't respect her as a doctor. So I don't want to drop that from the street. Every time somebody gets to write a letter to the street, that she gets that honor.
Yeah.
Okay, and comments on the other two recommendations. Councillor Brennan.
Yeah, that's a great idea with doctor and it was the first or the third one. But anyway, I think that it's important to get some sort of protocol or procedure for people that want to nominate. I've been asked a number of times about certain people in town and why isn't there a street, and I wasn't sure if there was something they could do, but if there's some way to do that and put that in whatever the bylaw we're going to amend, that would be good. So, and I think that, you know, having some sort of a limit on it. I'm not sure how many are on there now, but obviously we're not going to be naming 50 new streets anytime soon. So that's it. Great report.
So let's just look at those three the suggestions. We've already signed off on Mansfield Terrace. We're all comfortable with that. I can go ahead. The change was Agnes Crane Drive to Dr. Agnes Crane Drive or Dr. Agnes Drive. I'm not sure which. And the last one was the changing of the street bylaw as outlined, including the opportunity for people to nominate. Did anybody else want to comment? Okay. I did get feedback from the family, the Harrison family. They felt that it was unfair of council to reject it. I'll just share it. They would have liked to have seen us take the process that we agreed to rather than change it in real time. We changed it while the name was in front of us, and I won't say they're offended, but they were hurt, and they brought that to our attention. They wanted to know what they could do. I said, you could write to council, and so far I haven't seen any correspondence, but I made sure that they understood that it was not a reflection on the family. So I would have preferred that we kept those names and changed the process later, but we didn't, and that's fine. Marie, this is a good report, and we'll see the new draft street naming bylaw in sometime in the future.
Yes.
Yeah, and so again, I've heard council has agreed, committee has agreed that Mansfield Terrace approved Dr. Agnes Crane Drive or Dr. Agnes, or always with the Crane.
Dr. Agnes Crane.
All right. They don't like the short version, and that you'll bring forward a new bylaw when it's available.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
10.3, Director Clark, programming event for our town square. It's more of a triangle than a square, but
It's a rhombus,
Right.
possibly. I actually don't know if that's the case, but anyway. So I have three items before you this evening, and the first is the item 6.6, strategic initiative 6.6, which is develop a programming/event plan for the new town square, and credit where credit is due. Jenny Davis, who's in the audience here, as per usual, and Tana Torch, who is watching from home, did a lot of work on this, and so I appreciate their efforts. We did start this conversation about a year ago, and it's evolved a number of times. We also had some really good conversations with the DBA and with the CEO of the library. Obviously, we think that those two town-adjacent organizations would be really beneficial to involve in any sort of process that we have down there. So what we're seeking this evening is that you approve the draft programming event plan and associated policy for the town square. Essentially, the town square is a rentable piece of infrastructure under the community services or within the community services department. What we're looking to do is create a policy that allows us to engage town adjacent organizations such as the DBA, the library, the Accessibility Advisory Committee. I'll just give a shout out for them for a vested interest. So that we can have them support programming for the community. So what we've got before you is an example, a non-exhaustive list, an example of potential opportunities. Some of these are long-standing activities, things like Celebration. Those are activities that have happened before, run by the DBA. But what we would do is seek to waive fees because it's done in a partnership way in our facility run by an adjacent organization. And so we are seeking endorsement of the programming plan and associated policy this evening.
thank you very much. Turn to my colleagues for comments or questions. Let's start with Councillor Brennan.
Yeah, thanks. Of course, this is great, and my friend Tom would be very happy to see this come forward and utilization of that beautiful space. So, looking forward to it. Thank you.
Councillor Quinn.
Thank you. And I agree. it's a beautiful space. I love to see this coming forward. The other thing that I really like listening to you say is we're working together with, and that's how things happen, by working together with, and that's marvelous, marvelous. Thank you.
Councillor Miller?
I echo that, Councillor Quinn. Thank you very much for working with the community groups, and I'm looking forward to live music coming up very soon there. So I'm in full support of your recommendations. Can I just ask one question? Why would we not consider renting the town square for commercial purposes?
So
Whole parks policy? Or?
yes, sorry. So that's a good question. And if I may, this policy is specific to provision of third party for free, complimentary in support of. You're more than welcome to rent for a wedding or photography or whatever. That would fall under the typical policy. But this would not be something. The ineligible events would be those things that we wouldn't want to engage in a partnership to provide free services for specific use that would be for personal gain or something like that.
I wonder if that wording might just be.
Yeah, I can update that. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.
Well done.
Not seeing any other hands. We have consensus to support both of those recommendations, which was the approve the draft programming event plan and the associated policy. So they would move from draft into, and they would come back, I guess, or you would just adopt them.
With the change of the wording, just to be clear, just around our wordsmithing the ineligible events to be more specific about in this context, not the broader context of, okay. Makes sense.
Council's happy? Good, thank you very much.
Checking things off the strategic plan.
Chair.
Yes, C.O. Mars.
Thank you. So just for clarity, because the changes are fairly minor, I would suggest we bring it directly to council at the next opportunity, if committee is comfortable with that. Sure.
It's fine.
Yeah, they're very minor.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. And of course, you're going to remain there and talk about the Old Home Week report.
Yes, so this is on behalf of the Old Home Week Task Force. They have asked me to bring forward a recommendation that council approve the procurement related to a drone show. This is going to be a marquee event and during Old Home Week 2025. And we'd like to procure it from North Star Drone Shows in the amount of $40,000 exclusive of HST, net HST. At this point, there have been 3 quotes that have been received, and they would like to go with the North Star based on the package and the service. The biggest selling feature was the customer service that was provided throughout the process, but also if there's a rain delay or some sort of issue with the event going forward, they're willing to move it up to a year later. So we don't lose the event if something happens in terms of weather or so on. And so the task force rather, is seeking approval to go ahead and enter into a contract with North Star Drone Shows.
Thank you. I just will speak to it as well as a member of the committee. I just, as the directors pointed out, the flexibility of this particular vendor was, and the cost is almost identical for the 3, but the options available for this one were terrific. And the discussions that the committee's had with them have been very amenable. They're very professional. And so there's a strong support at the committee level for at least getting the down payment down on it and holding it for next year. So questions or comments? Mayor Painter?
I think it'll be a fabulous presentation. I appreciate it's a lot of money, but the committee is doing its fundraising and is confident there won't be any issues. It'll be a signature event for Old Home Week, and it'll be a regional draw. There's no question about it. So I support it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Quinn.
Thank you. I think it's going to be fabulous. The one thing that, as I'm looking at all this, I'm thinking, maybe we'll keep that information right there, and instead of doing fireworks, we can have a drone light show. You know, so there's all kinds of possibilities to come out of this, but I think it's very positive.
And certainly other communities are looking at that because of the environmental impact of fireworks. They still are exciting and, you know, big booms and all that kind of stuff, but drone shows seem to be kind of the way of that folks are going. So we'll certainly look into that.
We'll be in the news.
For Old Home Week.
Councillor Brennan?
A drone show would be great, and our dogs will thank us for it. Just a question on the just on the budget thing of it. You know, it states the committee has the money in hand, so it's paid for basically with our donation. Do we need to approve? I think it's $70,000 from us. Has that come through us yet?
No.
It should though, probably.
It will. It's not. We haven't done that yet. All we have it in the budget is what the council's already approved, and we have significant donations that have started coming.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
But no, it'll come up. That second half would come up, I'm assuming, in the 2025
Right,
budget.
next year. Okay, great.
And if I may,
If I'm wrong, I'll turn to staff.
No, that's accurate as far as I understand. And in addition to that, the $70,000 that's noted from the town is also potentially inclusive of in-kind. So it's not necessarily a direct cash. So what they're looking at is trying to source out alternative funding through fundraising, and then there is the intention to bring the budget forward for confirmation here.
Okay, just for my own interest. So, why do we need to approve this? And if they're
Well, you're only approving the drone, the selection of the company
Correct.
to do the drone. The budget is there for information.
yeah, I understand
Okay.
that. But if they've got it paid for, then why, I'm not sure why it comes through us. Why do we need to go through council?
Sure.
So at this point, they are not able to enter into a contract, and because it's a fairly significant amount, I wanted to make sure the council was aware.
Understood.
If the
So
mayor
we're
was-
on the contract.
We're trying to follow all the procurement
Understand.
under the town umbrella. And
Perfect.
so you've got consensus again for that one. Thank you very much, colleagues.
And I'm not texting to be rude. I'm just making sure that
No,
our
I understand.
individual that is maybe joining us will be joining us.
So item 10.5, Spirit of the Drum Powwow pre-budget approval. Back to you, Director Clark.
Thank you. So I'm pleased to present a request for a pre-budget allocation of $65,000 for the 2025 Spirit of the Drum Powwow. This is so that we can ensure timely planning execution of this very important cultural event and make sure that we get it back into the community for next year. This number comes after consultation with our colleagues from the committee, in particular, Mayor Pankow and I met with Jose, who I believe may be on Zoom at this point, or should be joining us shortly, just as out of interest, and also just in case she's not here yet. Okay. Anyway, we had a really good conversation and talked what we thought would be reasonable in terms of what it takes to actually execute an event of this caliber. And we wanted to make sure that we did it right, and we're committing fully and wholeheartedly to ensuring that it comes back in 2025.
Comments or questions? And I know that the 65 is the top end, and if other grants and opportunities come in during that time, or other partners step up, it could be much less, but that's the best worst case. Mayor Pankow.
Yeah, thank you, Director Clark. And, I guess express extreme gratitude to Jose Bourgeois for meeting with us and really, I guess, enabling a pathway to powwow for 2025. And as has been mentioned, we know that in the past, the Upper Canada District School Board committed $10,000 is in the report, $5,000 for Parks Canada. And I'm pleased to announce or mention that the Police Service Board had a decision to make last week regarding proceeds of crime money. In other words, if money is taken in a criminal event, there's some discretion to the board to decide what to do with that. It was recommended by staff and endorsed by the committee to give $5,000 towards powwow as well. So there's a good start towards funding for next year. So I think it's great to see it coming back for our endorsement, and hopefully we see the way forward to say, okay, this makes a lot of sense. We recognize how meaningful powwow is, and I think by committing to funding for 2025, we've set the course for powwow to come back in 2025. At the same time, I think we need to acknowledge that we've made some mistakes along the way, and I think those mistakes did create some unfortunate feelings within members of the powwow committee. I think certainly we let down a lot of the performers, the dancers, the drummers, participants, the vendors who had expected powwow to go ahead. And at the same time, I think the school board also, which this again originated with the Indigenous Studies students at SFDCI, who poured their heart and soul into making sure this could happen in years past. And unfortunately, and it's in many ways we think we failed to ensure it happened. But I think the positive part is that we can ensure that it does happen in 2025. And I just want to highlight one, what I believe is an unfortunate and inappropriate statement. And it was a statement on social media where we indicated that due to unforeseen circumstances and that the powwow was being canceled. And I think it's just sometimes communication that's expressed is received differently than maybe it's intended. And in that situation, I think that somewhat took some of the responsibility off of us. And I think it may have been perceived that it was directed at that it was failings due to our partners. And I don't think that was the intention at all, but that was the reality that was felt by some of the partners. So I just simply want to recognize that as an organization, we do make mistakes. We do fail at times, but it's important that we acknowledge that, we learn from that, we grow from that, and we do what we can to reconcile that for the future. In this instance, I think Josie's involvement has been extremely meaningful, and her commitment to helping us bring powwow back is deeply appreciated. And we know that this is an important act of reconciliation for our community, for the municipality, but also for the broader community, and it's an opportunity for celebration in ways that we otherwise could not do. And so I'm certainly very supportive of this happening. And I think making the decision now to plan for 2025 also enables us to do further things to help reduce the net cost to the town. And we know that there's a possibility of grants. This year it didn't work out in time, but there's also a possibility going back to the future. And there's been discussion, I think, as the report indicates, on pension sponsorships, which would further help alleviate or reduce the overall net cost. But I think the important part is that we make that commitment so we can proceed for 2025.
Councillor Miller?
Thank you, and I appreciate your report and your work on this committee. And thank you to Mayor Panko and to others who helped bring this back for us in 2025. I'm sorry that as a councillor, I didn't make it more known that this event was such a high priority for me. I dangerously made the assumption that because I voted on it in the budget that I didn't have to do anything further to ensure that it happened. And so I'm committed to doing better on our truth and reconciliation work. And so I support your recommendation as a very small first step. I do have a small question. When this came to light at a council meeting a couple of months ago, I did bring up that we could roll forward our 2025 budgeted amount. Would that be happening?
Yes.
Okay, so it's the 65,000 minus the 20?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I would defer to, that's correct, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Councillor Quinn?
Everything is very positive that we're hearing here tonight, so this is great. If we have others that contribute to this, is there a specific way that they are acknowledged? Because that's really important, you know, to people, that they get acknowledged for being the support. So is there a specific way? Is that?
I would say through the chair that I don't know, because this is my first involvement in the POWA, so I don't actually know if we have historically done that, but I think it's an absolutely appropriate idea. And I think I would leave it to the committee to discuss how that would happen in terms of the best way forward with partnerships and so on. So, but I think that should be top of mind for sure.
Excellent. Thank you.
And I'm seeing thumbs up around So we have a consensus from council to support the pre-budget approval.
Thank you very
And
much.
to look forward to 2025. Yeah, thank you.
If I may, it's not on our council budget subsequent to this meeting. If we could add that and get this looked after now, so we can firm our attention tonight.
Is that council's will to add it immediately following this?
Thank you.
Council Brent?
Yeah, for sure, put it on tonight. I just would say, I was looking at the report, up to $65,000.
Right. Okay. So I'll turn to our wonderful clerk and ensure that she has time to put that together. Okay. Thank you very much, council and staff and everybody's worked on this. Appreciate it. We have 10.6 committee appointees, and if I'm not mistaken, we have a nominee for one of our committees.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have the final application for the Old Home Week Committee. This will bring the membership of that committee up to 13, which is full membership. The name that is being brought forward this evening is Angie Webster. She has been vetted through both the staff resource and the chair of the committee, and her application is supported. With council's concurrence, we'd like to bring forward a resolution this evening. This committee holds regular meetings, and we don't want to hold off on finalizing their membership.
I'm seeing unanimous support for that recommendation. Thank you. So do we have any committee, board, or external organization updates at this time? Seeing none. We have some information items. Tay Valley and other committees have gone on to adopt a resolution regarding basic income guarantee. And municipality of Tweed supports our, I'm not sure it was Smith Falls resolution, but we forwarded it on the need to restrict keeping of non-native wild animals. And the Township of Real Lakes on the resolution calling on the Government of Canada to support High Frequency Rail Project Office, located passenger rail station in the town of Smith Falls. So that's great. Thank you, Real Lakes, one of our good neighbors. Any further discussion on that information items? No. We do have one more in camera. For those, this one might take a little longer. You're welcome to stay. But at this point, I'm going to seek a motion. The Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls has provided in Section 239 of the Municipal Act as amended, moved in closed section at 6:10 to discuss a personal issue about an identifiable individual. Moved by Councillor Brennan, seconded by Councillor Robinson. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. We'll be back at
Okay, Chair McKenna, you can go ahead.
Welcome back to the Committee of the Whole, and I appreciate your patience while we had an in-camera item to discuss a personnel matter internally about an identifiable individual, and staff will provide with feedback. I don't know if we have any notice of motions. I'm not seeing any. We have a recommended motion. The committee adjourn its proceedings at 6:52 and stand so adjourned to the next duly called committee meeting. Moved by Councillor Brandon, second by Councillor Robinson. All in favor? Carried. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
So about a 2-minute recess to get our council meeting ready.
Council reports, or do you want to just put them off?
Up to you. Welcome back, everyone, to this meeting, special meeting of Smith Falls Town Council for Monday, July 22nd. On July 22nd, 2024, we acknowledge that the sacred land which Smith Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and its rich and indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We're grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We're also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smith Falls. We're mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, be mindful of generations to come. Call the meeting to order. We have one amendment to the agenda. With your consent, we'll allow item 9.3, which is 2025 powwow pre-budget approval. Ask for Councillor Brennan for approval of the agenda.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Miller, that the July 24th, 2024 special council meeting agenda be approved as circulated.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Brennan, seconded by Councillor Miller, that the July 24th, 2024 special council meeting agenda be approved as circulated. July 22nd, 2024 special council meeting be approved as circulated.
Point of order, should it be as amended
As amended, yes. Approved as amended. Thank you.
on the date?
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Ask for disclosure of pecuniary interest and or conflict of interest in general nature thereof. Assuming none. We have no approval of minutes tonight. We do have a couple of council reports, I think, with Councillor Quinn, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just on the Cataraqui Trail, they have put up one sign, and I've had another sign delivered to me, so I'm going to go to ask Public Works if they'll put a sign up. They're having issues with people using the Cataraqui Trail to walk their dogs and not cleaning up after them. So we're getting it posted. That's something, I mean, there's so many people using the trail now, we need to keep it in really, really good shape. It's amazing the people that have started to use it. And so we'll get that taken care of. The only other thing that I had to report on was on July the 14th, I attended the Smith Falls Car Show, and I was talking to the organizer, and they had 240 vehicles registered. There was a few others came, but 240 were registered. Wow. And they feel that there was about 1,000 people there. So it was an excellent show. It was wonderful right here in Laurel Reach Park in Smith Falls, just showing off our great town. And that's our
wonderful. Thank you. Any other reports?
Could I just ask a question to Councillor Quinn, or through you? Just on the Cataraqui Trail, is the town putting up signs on the trail?
There's one sign that has already been put up by the Cataraqui Trail staff, and they were getting more, so they left another sign here at the town hall, and we'll have staff put it up. But that's on the Cataraqui Trail that is in the town of Smith Falls.
And is that our role? I'm curious. I thought it would be.
Public Works usually, if there's an issue, they'll go out and deal with it. They don't. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. Thank you.
Okay. Any other reports? I have no reports or updates or announcements, no presentations or proclamations. No consent agenda items tonight. We'll move right into our motions with Councillor McKenna, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Robinson, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls approved a procurement related to a drone show during Old Home Week 2025 from North Star Drone Shows in the amount of $40,000 exclusive of net HST.
Thank you. Discussion, please.
That's the one of the marquee features for next year's Old Home Week in August. For a variety of reasons, good reasons, and it's all part of the budget that was approved for this event.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, it's moved by Councillor McKenna and seconded by Councillor Robinson. The Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls approved the procurement related to a drone show during Old Home Week 2025 from North Star Drone Shows in the amount of $40,000 exclusive of net HST. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Councillor Miller, you have the next motion.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Brennan that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls appoint the following applicant to the Old Home Week Task Force. That's Angie Webster.
Thank you. And further discussion, please?
So we had one vacancy on this committee, and we're very grateful that Angie Webster applied to be on the committee, and she will take care of that vacancy for us.
Very good. Thank you. Any further comments? No. It's moved by Councillor Miller and seconded by Councillor Brennan. The Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls appoint the following applicant to the Old Home Week Task Force. Angie Webster. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Our last formal piece of business is back to Councillor McKenna, please.
Thank you again. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Robinson, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls approved pre-budget allocation of $65,000 for the 2025 Spirit of the Drum Powwow to ensure timely planning and execution of this important cultural event, and further, that staff include this allocation in the 2025 budget.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Yeah, we're delighted. Unfortunately, the powwow was not put on in 2024 through the work behind the scenes with the committee, the mayor, and the partners on the powwow. We're confirming the town's commitment going at least for 2025 to bring it back to Smith Falls, the unique cultural event. And the town is delighted to be a partner in this with Parks Canada, the school board, and others.
Thank you. Any further discussion, questions? Okay, it's moved by Councillor McKenna and seconded by Councillor Robinson. The Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls approved pre-budget allocation of $65,000 for the 2025 Spirit of the Drum Powwow to ensure timely planning and execution of this important cultural event, and for the staff include this allocation in the 2025 budget. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Inquiries or announcements? Councillor Miller.
Thank you. So the Downtown Business Association has launched a 2024 patio passport. It's a campaign to help support local restaurants. There are 11 participating businesses, and full details are on their Facebook page, but you can pick up your passport at any of the participating restaurants. You spend $10 or more and you get a sticker. You get 3 stickers, you drop it off in one of the ballot boxes, and you have a chance to win one of 3 monthly prizes. So it'll run for July, August, and September. And I kicked off my passport last night, and I encourage you all to do the same.
Thank you. Anything further? Motion for adjournment is with Councillor Robinson.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Brennan, that this council adjourn its proceedings at 7:03 p.m. and stand so adjourned until the next duly called meeting of council.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor Robinson and seconded by Councillor Brennan that this council adjourns proceedings at 7:03 p.m. and stands so adjourned until the next duly called meeting of council. All in favor? Gary, thank you, everyone. We are adjourned. Good night.
Thank you.
Okay.